Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad you could come at this very difficult time of year when all of our minds are being blown by what's going on politically. When I first planned this event, I didn't know the debate would be the night before, and I'm very glad it didn't fall on this night because I hear that Poets House didn't have a great turnout last night for their party as a result. But here we are. And I'm so glad that you're with us. And you will find on your chairs a program with all the poets' biographical short bios, because they all have a lot more credits than that's on the back of the flyer there, on the back of the program. But I'll start with a few remarks so that we give a little time for more people to come. And then we're going to be watching 3 short poetry videos. 2 by Anton Evangelista and 1 by Tova Beck Friedman, who's here tonight, and a wonderful filmmaker, videographer, who's done a poem video of one of Alicia's poems. So we'll be watching those first. But first I thought I would just like to tell you about the climate mobilization a bit, because we're now living in the era of catastrophic climate change. Extreme droughts, wildfires, floods, storms, and damaging agriculture and infrastructure, and causing violent upheavals and mass migrations of climate refugees like the Syrian refugees. Many don't remember that there was a 12-year drought in the Syrian farmland that caused the migration. I mean, everybody was upset. The farmers moved, the agrarian society moved into the cities. The horrible Assad dictator did not respond to their need for jobs, food, and water. Revolution broke out because of this 12-year drought. And then all these other horrible factions, warring factions, moved in. So we're already seeing the first wave of climate refugees. And Al Gore expects 5 million climate refugees yearly. Now, when there's very sad news, if there's a fire in the house, you have to yell fire. You can't act like a Pollyanna. So forgive me if I'm yelling fire a bit. There is also good news on the horizon. We've been warned of this ecological crisis for a long time now, and now there's maybe a decade, if that, to save all civilization before it will slowly begin to die off from extreme weather, drought, lack of food, and so forth. That's the reality. And we have to face the reality if we're going to move fast enough to save things. This very beautiful library only opened, well, how long ago? But about 2003, was it, that this new Poets House came into being? And at that time I said, don't build it there. It's in a flood zone. But no one listened. So this very beautiful Library of American Poetry is in a flood risk zone. I was just looking at the flood risk maps, and of course, all the coastlines are threatened, and a good portion of New York, particularly this Battery Park City, quite a brand new part of New York with all new buildings, is in a threatened risk flood zone. So I'm very glad they put all the books upstairs, and it's a beautiful library. If you haven't been here before, you can find all the wonderful poetry books, and it's free and open to the public all week. It's a very comfortable place. They have Wi-Fi up there, and you can explore magazines and read poetry to your heart's content up there. So this is a bit of a benefit for Poets House, because it might have to move before very long, as well as a chance to educate a little bit about ecological poetry, what's going on with that. So now the young people are doing what they call a climate mobilization, which means that we are revving up to pressure the government to move as fast as FDR did during World War II to have a fast new Green Deal. It has to be done very quickly. There's no time for little incremental steps like Obama has been making, and even the Paris Agreement isn't good enough to save us. And of course, if we get the monster in office, the first thing he's pledged to do is destroy the Paris Agreement. So this is a very, very important election. If we get Hillary, we will still be able to demonstrate in the streets and protest. But if we get the other guy, Drumpf, which was his real surname before he changed it to Trump, Drumpf will make a police state in which we can't even protest, and he totally denies climate. So I know you all know that, and I'm probably preaching to the choir, but on your chairs I put something you can do, calls you can make, websites you can look at, pledges you can take to join the climate mobilization. Even if you're not a marcher, there are things you can do, calls you can make a call to the government and your representatives, say, we want all clean energy by 2025. And there's a big movement in New York, a coalition of many environmental groups working on that. The good news is that ExxonMobil is now under investigation, and even the SEC has joined the investigation. We have 17 attorneys general investigating Mobil and probably going to indict the CEOs for lying for 25 years. They knew this. Their own scientists told them that fossil fuels would destroy the environment. They knew it. They buried the evidence. They hired scientists to lie about it. There was even a scientist named Snow who was involved with the Geographical Magazine and the Smithsonian Institute who lied about it. So even some scientists were corrupted by money when it came to the true story of climate crisis emergency. So please do take avail of the information I put there. There's more information back on the shelf. Watch Green World Rising by Leonardo DiCaprio. You can watch it on YouTube. It'll inspire you to write poems. It's 4 short little videos done the way only a Hollywood producer can do them that will educate you completely on climate crisis. In a simple way, it'll teach you the science of it, and the first one will scare the hell out of you, and the last one will give you great hope that all the technology exists right now to save us, and as you all know, only the political will is lacking. So we have a motto in the climate justice movement: to save everything, we need everyone now. And it's better to light one candle than rage against the darkness, as that old Chinese proverb says. So tonight we will be going in alphabetical order, except for our great venerable poet, Alicia Ostriker, who will read just before the intermission and just before the finale, when all the poets on the program will come back with a short smash coda. And here's my wonderful friend Maurice Edwards. Why not? Maurice is the husband of Nina Kasian, a great Romanian poet. And I introduced them many years ago, and they married, and it saved her life because she was fleeing Ceausescu. So I saved her from Ceausescu, and she was able to stay in America. The great Romanian poet Nina Kasian, who died 2 years ago, had a very nice, ripe old age in a very peaceful way. And Maurice himself is a wonderful writer. He's just done a book on Grabe, the great German absurdist who was so seminal in contemporary and modern theater. So I'm going to start with a little poem that I wrote way back in the 70s. Since we have a woman for the first time nominated to be our president, I thought I would read Lady Godiva's Horse, a short poem. Lady Godiva was actually one of the first protesters, one of the first nonviolent protesters in Western history. She was Empress of Coventry in the 11th century, and her husband was starving the people of Coventry to death with high taxes. So she said, if you don't stop starving our people, I am going to get naked and ride a horse through the town, naked. And she had long hair which covered her breasts. And of course the famous story of Peeping Tom, who was, the townspeople were so grateful to her for this protest on the horse that she came marching through the town naked, that they all lowered their heads and would not look, except for Peeping Tom, who peeped out the window to see the beautiful Lady Godiva. So this is about one of the first political protesters, and boy, do we need political protesters today. Lady Godiva's horse. She rides me tamely through the town, seated daintily, naked legs side-saddling me, a proper lady. Silk hair covers her shoulders. Townspeople bow in reverence as we pass, challenging her husband's greedy taxes, saving Coventry with her nakedness. Triumphant, we reach the gates of the city, and she swings one leg over me, grips my bare back with her soft thighs. Her bootless heels kick my sides, and I run, her hands loosening my reins, her body bending close, her warm weight upon me, her breasts galloping with my hooves. And we are one, beast and lady fused, one body, she pressed wet to me, my mane, her hair, our tail flowing out behind, the force of her moon blood coursing through us, fierce umbilicus of the moon pulling us toward the sea. So even if Hillary's not perfect, we really need her right now. And certainly so much better. I liked what Alicia said to me. 3 words, the Supreme Court. Very important. So now I would like to start the program, and as you will see, the poets' bios are on the back, so we won't have to do the dry reading, but you can see all the wonderful things they've done. And these are really short bios compared to all their wonderful credits. And they're all wonderful poets, but I'll be going in alphabetical order with Alicia, as I said, prior to the intermission. We'll have a short intermission with some vegetarian refreshments and soft drinks, and then we will continue. And I'm going to start with 3 short little poetry videos, or poem videos as we call them, if I can make this work, and maybe if I can't make it work, maybe Total will help me. She probably